The Philippines, a nation often battered by the forces of nature, is now facing a storm of a different kind. One that has come not from the skies, but from within its own government. For years, citizens have suffered through devastating floods, the impact of which could have been lessened by proper flood control systems. But behind the scenes of these flood control projects lies a dark and troubling truth. One that involves millions, even billions, of pesos meant for the protection of the Filipino people. What if we told you that the people entrusted with these funds have been lining their own pockets instead of saving lives? From contractors who monopolize government contracts to politicians in the highest positions allegedly profiting from the scheme, the situation is more complex, more damaging, and more devastating than it seems. In this video, we'll break down the corruption behind the flood control projects that have failed the nation and made its people suffer. Who is really behind the massive misappropriation of public funds? How deep does this corruption go? And who are the key figures in this devastating scandal? Welcome to Handbrake, where we unravel the web of corruption within the nation. About a month ago, the Philippine government launched an investigation into the controversial flood control projects. Early findings from a Marcos-ordered audit revealed that 15 contractors have been receiving the majority of the country's flood management budget over the past 3 years. The Discaya couple is among the top 15 contractors, owning 2 of the top 5, Alpha and Omega General Contractor and St. Timothy Construction Corporation, which certainly makes them stand out. The public's suspicions grew even stronger when a shocking interview video surfaced online on September 17, 2024, exactly a year ago. The video quickly grabbed the Filipino public's attention, leaving viewers stunned by what they saw. At the start of the interview, the Discaya couple proudly showcased their collection of luxury cars, not just 1 or 2, but a jaw-dropping 40. To the public, it seemed like an outrageous display, especially with the ongoing investigation. Some of these cars had no entry records in the country, sparking suspicions that they were smuggled. When you gave clues because of your stupidity, it wouldn't be obvious if it were just 2 luxury cars, but 40 luxury cars. The government should take back everything they stole. The nerve of those faces, the value of these cars is truly jaw-dropping, and it didn't take long for the internet to blow up. Filipinos were furious, expressing their anger and frustration over the sight of it all. It was clear that the scale of their wealth was unsettling to viewers. The Discaya couple is currently facing hearings, trying to explain their flashy lifestyle and how they amassed so much wealth so quickly. But the numbers just don't add up. Even though the investigation is still ongoing, the public already has their own ideas about where that money came from. Sarah Discaya was thrilled in a different way. She bought a Rolls Royce, she bought a Bentley. We honest taxpayers and workers will be thrilled when you couple are locked up. Eventually, the Discaya couple, once in the shadows, sought witness protection after revealing a list of names linked to government officials in the flood control scandal. They also admitted to paying kickbacks to DPWH officials, fearing their contracts might be cancelled or delayed.
25% ay ipinipilit sa amin bilang karaniwang kalakaran na wala akong kakainang tanggihan. Ilan sa kanila ay sina Regional Director Eduardo Virgilio of DPWH Region 5, Director Ramon Ariola III of Unified Management UPMO, District Engineer Henry Alcantara, DPWS Bulacan 1st, Undersecretary Robert Bernardo, District Engineer Aristotle Ramos of DPWS Metro 1st.
As the public's outrage grew, the spotlight shifted from the Discaya couple to the powerful network of people enabling their actions. Among those allegedly involved in the massive scheme are former DPWH District Engineer Henry Alcantara and his personal assistant Bryce Erickson Hernandez, a former DPWH Assistant District Engineer. Despite being partners in crime, the investigation uncovered ghost projects tied to them and massive cash gambling records. This forced Bryce and his colleagues to speak out, pressured by both guilt and the weight of their involvement. Unlike Bryce, who came clean, Henry Alcantara, often called Boss Henry, continues to deny any role. Despite mounting accusations, he insists he was unaware of the projects and denies the claims made by contractor Pacifico Curly Discaya. This denial carried through all the hearings under the former chairperson, Senator Marcoleta, which sparked major backlash on social media. People pointed out how the Blue Ribbon Committee focused all the tough questions on Bryce and his colleagues, while Alcantara, despite being referred to as Boss Henry, stayed in denial.
So dito, na galit si Jinggoy, no?
Oh, yeah.
The moral outrage.
Pero
Yung sinasabi ko, yung moral
that's so
outrage.
ironic eh. Kaya that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I really look at this thing as an entire circus, because you have people that do not have the moral authority to be doing this whole investigation where they themselves are
Crusade.
Right, this crusade. I mean, look at Bongo trying to now paint a picture na wala akong kinalalaman sa flood control. Hindi ko alam kung sino itong Diskaya na to. Well, we all know, just came out nga, that Bongo's family actually partnered with the Diskayas for a flood control project where they got like what, 800 million pesos or something? You can fact check me on the amount.
There are a couple.
Of course, he is involved with the Discayas. Just think about it. How on earth could Discaya's companies get so many infrastructure projects if they didn't have backing from someone influential like Go? Who do you think funded his and Bardo's campaigns in the last election? Why do you think the Discayas are flaunting their wealth? They know that even if cases are filed, nothing will happen because Sara has a pretty good chance of getting elected president in 2028, just a few years from now.
Kasi, if you follow, although I don't know yung claim ni Diskaya na splice daw yung videos niya, but I don't know ano yung mas-splice mo sa yumaman kami sa DPWH. Aminado sila na until 2016, small time sila. And after 2016, my goodness, these guys are getting what, 400 projects a year or something?
Yes.
So, anong admin ang pinaka nagsimula na tong kaligayahan ng mga contractors? Duterte admin, 2016.
Hindi, sinasabi lang natin, may partnership sila with Diskaya 2017. Continuity ng statement, yung tanong ni Bato, na nagsimula sila 2016. Tapos 2017, meron na silang proyekto with the family of Bongo. Kahit anong sabihin ni Bongo na walang relasyon, ayun eh, inamin.
Obvious, yeah.
No? Nasarap lang.
But it's
In Go's defense, not all infrastructure projects are anomalous. Any country needs infrastructure in order to prosper, just do it in the right way. What's wrong is that the project has failed, and if we're funding Go's projects, follow up by, for the 9th time, I have nothing to do with the business of my family. I don't have anything to do with their business. I have no involvement in its operations, Go said. He claims to stand for accountability, though it's easy to say that when you're under scrutiny. But when your family is cashing in on questionable deals with contractors that are up to no good, it's hard to ignore the elephant in the room. The public isn't buying it, and the investigation is gaining momentum. If others can exploit this system, it's no surprise more officials are involved. Or worse, the system may be rigged from the start. And just as the pressure was mounting, things took a dramatic turn. Not long after the early Senate hearing, followed by a House hearing, Bryce Hernandez dropped some bombshells, naming Senators Jinggoy Estrada and Joey Villanueva as allegedly taking kickbacks from the flood control projects. Photos of Alcantara with the two senators, leaked messages, have been circulating online, raising serious questions about their connections to the shady deals.
Yan. Can we read for the record what is in the second message? Para lang po malinaw. Again, this is a conversation supposedly between Senator Joel Villanueva and District Engineer Henry Alcantara, which is supposedly a disappearing message, no? Tapos pinapicturan kay Engineer JP Mendoza.
Dito po is conversation.
So, excuse me, before proceeding, can we state for the record again who is Beng Ramos?
Staff of Senator Jinggoy Estrada po.
Staff of Senator Beng Ramos is a staff of Senator Jinggoy Estrada.
Yes po, Your Honor.
All right, please proceed.
Thank you, Bryce Hernandez, for singing out loud. Now we are slowly uncovering the truth. Not the bogus hearing yesterday, obviously, to protect the hoodlums. Jinggoy and Joel Villanueva, your time to shine. Bryce claims that Villanueva and Estrada pushed to allocate 600 million pesos and 355 million pesos respectively for flood control funding in Bulacan's 1st district in exchange for a 30% cut. Of course, both senators have denied any involvement.
Hindi ko kilala. I don't even know one of them. All right? And I deny vehemently that I received kickback on 30%. I deny that vehemently.
Okay.
And lahat yung mga sinasabi ng Bryce Hernandez during the House hearing yesterday, wala naman siyang ebidensya. That is that is plain and pure hearsay.
Sabi po ni Boss Henry, nagre-request daw po si Senator Joel ng pondo po.
ng almost parang ang pagkakabanggit ni Boss Henry is 1.5 billion. Subalit dun sa parang na pumasok sa conversation po na napicturan, isang kayang ialat lang po sa kanya ni Secretary Bonoan is 600 million. Totoo naman
I'm
po.
sorry, Mr. Chairman. There's nothing there. Kahit na
Actual,
picture lang yung pinicture mo, there's nothing there that states that. Is this a new allegation that you're talking about?
What makes this even more complicated is that both senators sit on the Blue Ribbon Committee, now chaired by Senator Ping Lacson, who replaced former chairperson Senator Marcoleta. Marcoleta was responsible for the early Senate hearings, which raised concerns about how he handled the investigation. Many felt it didn't align with public expectations and seemed more like a one-sided inquiry. In contrast, the current Senate hearings under Lacson's leadership have been more subtle, though the sudden transition in committee leadership has sparked criticism about how the investigation is being managed.
Alam mo, to begin with, it is nakakadiri siguro manood ng Senate hearing na nakikita mo yung akusado, siya pa yung nag-i-interpolate ng resource person natin. Parang there's something optically wrong with seeing that scene with Joel Villanueva and Jinggoy Estrada going on the attack when they're the ones that are being accused. Okay? There's something really wrong with that. Having said that, I am glad that Lacson is very calm and he tries to be as balanced as he can, and then he would say nga na
But even with all the criticism, when asked by an ex-user if the senators would be held accountable if found guilty, Senator Lacson had this to say. By any measure, Senators Villanueva and Estrada have not been cleared, at least on the issue of budget insertions involving infrastructure projects in Bulacan worth 600 million pesos and 355 million pesos respectively, as alleged by Anger Bryce Hernandez. Even though they haven't been officially cleared, the public's perception is already shifting. The more details come out, the harder it will be for them to deny any involvement.
So what is the context of this picture for the benefit of people that are looking? Can you describe who had taken this picture and kindly explain the context, please?
Kung maalala ko po, ako po ang nagpicture nito. Kasi dyan lang po ako nakakita ng ganyan karaming pera. First time ko po yan. Kaya pinicturean ko, natuwa po ako. And po, that's for inaayos po ni boss yan.
Mr. Chair, sino yung taong yun na naka-blue?
Can you state for the record, sino po yung napicturean na nakatayo sa harap po ng mga pera?
Yung half body po, si Boss Henry Alcantara ko po yan.
Alcantara's story is still the same, even after the latest hearing. To back up Bryce's claims, they showed a photo of someone who looked like Alcantara with a pile of money in front of him, and here's how he responded to it.
Inamin mo na rin yata na ikaw yan di ba? Nasa picture.
Nung sa Congress po, sabi ko lang po, hindi ko po matanda ko saan po, hindi ko po inamin po.
Alam mo, maski wala yung mukha mo, maski kalahati lang, alam mong ikaw yun kung ikaw yun Isa ka pa. Ikaw yun o hindi ikaw?
Posible pong ako, posible hindi po. Hindi ko po kasi Your Honor. Posible pong ako.
Siguraduhin mo na kasi ikaw talaga yan Ayan ayan, may relo. Relo mo ba yan?
Baka po, Your Honor.
Sige, ikaw na nga talaga, hindi baka. Alright. Go ahead, Bryce.
Yung sa amin po, umamin naman po kami na hindi ko alam bakit ayaw pa pong aminin ng boss namin na alam niya rin lahat ng nangyayari nito. Kami po, wala na pong mawawala sa amin. Naka-all out na po kami. Inaamin po namin yung ginawa namin, yung kasalanan po namin. At kung ano po yung kailangan namin ibalik, willing po kami.
Hindi nyo pa sinasabi kung sino yung lahat yung mga proponents, sino yung pass-through, sino Kulang pa yung inyong salaysay
Your Honor, sabi ko nga po, wala pa lang po akong hawak na matibay na ebidensya para makapagturo po. Ayoko pong magturo ng dahil gusto ko lang.
Bryce has made it clear he's not holding back, but Alcantara's refusal to come clean makes it obvious he's got something to hide. Senator Ping Lacson, don't you hear and see what we see and hear? Why didn't you squeeze Alcantara? I'm not really happy with your style lately. Obviously, the main man with connections with politicians, lawmakers is Henry Alcantara. If you will profile both, Bryce's participation in DPWH Mafia is up to contractors only, while Henry Alcantara is the connection to all the proponents involved. I can feel his fear too. He will have a tough fight. Jingoy and Joel were still sitting in the hearing. They should have been inhibited. Alcantara knows the walls are closing in on him. If you look closely, the fear is written all over his face. As for Bryce, he might not be perfect, but his actions are starting to expose the dirty truths no one else wants to talk about. We all know Bryce Hernandez isn't clean. He must answer for his own corruption. But you have to admit that his testimonies, receipts, and actions are making a lot of powerful people nervous. It's like they say, when you're guilty of something, the truth is your worst enemy. And right now, Bryce's truth is making everyone squirm. This is only the tip of the iceberg. With the Discaya couple, Bryce Hernandez, and their team finally being called out, it's becoming obvious that Henry Alcantara's time is running out too. With all the evidence stacking up, it's only a matter of time before it all unravels. Trying to catch the big fish in these murky waters feels like hunting in a massive wild current. Until, on September 23rd, 2025, Henry Alcantara broke his silence, confirming the involvement of 2 alleged Senate members. In his testimony, he detailed budget insertions and kickbacks linked to flood control projects implicating Senators Joel Villanueva, Jingoy Estrada, and other officials. Alcantara also confirmed that his superior was former DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo, further implicating key figures in the scheme. Now that Alcantara has spoken out, it's only a matter of time before the other individuals allegedly involved will be forced to address the growing allegations.
Okay, so today we will hear the testimony of Mr. or former Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo. Kindly stand up so your oath will be administered by the Director General of the Bureau.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this proceeding? Thank you. You may take your seat.
Thank you. Are you ready to make your statement?
Yes po, Mr. Chair.
You may proceed.
In his first appearance in Senate hearing, former DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo named Senator Francis Escudero and former Senators Ramon Bong Revilla Jr. and Nancy Binay as among those who allegedly took cuts from allocations intended for infrastructure projects. Clearly, the situation is spiraling out of control. With each new revelation and name being dropped, the web of corruption continues to expand, becoming more entrenched and undeniably linked to high-ranking government officials. And what's fueling this spiral? The complicity of those in power who choose to overlook the rampant corruption around them. What's worse than a corrupt officials and contractor is the man who turns a blind eye to it. Under former Secretary Bonoan's leadership, the DPWH became a breeding ground for cronyism. Imagine the people trusted him to build safer communities, but instead, they built a network of corruption and mismanagement. This is the same guy who kept insisting that the Ghost Project in Bulacan, discovered by President Marcos, was just an isolated case, said Lacson. Follow up by Lacson. Bonoan probably doesn't want Global Crete to be further exposed in the investigation. The former DPWH chief's ties to corruption run deeper than many realize. He is directly linked to MBB Global Properties Corporation, a company owned by the influential Maglanki family of Candabar. This same family controls Global Crete Builders, which secured billions in flood control projects in Bulacan between 2018 and 2024. And it gets more interesting. Fatima Gay Bonoan de la Cruz, the daughter of the former secretary, is listed as one of the incorporators of MBB Global Properties. Coincidence? Hardly.
Secretary Bonoan, ano masasabi mo dyan?
I don't know what to say, Your Honor. This is the first time that I have heard about all these shenanigans that they're doing actually in this district engineering office. They're supposed to monitor. They have to submit monitoring. In my watch, they're supposed to submit monitoring reports every phase of the work, every phase of the project, Your Honor.
Sino pong in charge ng monitoring po sa DPWH? At dito po sa Bulacan?
The regional office will be the one to monitor, but they will submit. They will be submitting actually
Magpangalan kayo, Secretary, kasi Ito, first time ko ito narinig. We're investigating flood control. Ngayon inaamin lahat ng proyekto, pati classroom, pati hospital, pati tulay, pati kalsada, lahat substandard. No, that's what you're saying, Bryce, no?
It's obvious from Bonoan's face that there's something hidden at the back of his mind. His young body language just says there's something hidden unspoken. Bonoan cannot say that a botched flood control project is an isolated case because the project costs a lot of money from Filipino taxpayers. It's no longer just about bad actors in the private sector. This is a deep-rooted issue in Congress, with senior officials pulling the strings. The flood control funds are just a symptom of a much bigger problem, a system designed to let the corrupt thrive while the Filipino people drown in neglect. Former House Appropriations Committee Chair Zaldi Ko is a top suspect in the mysterious budget insertions for flood control projects. Accused, contractors are pointing to him, and ultimately to former House Speaker Martin Romualdez, as key figures behind the unexplained allocation of billions of pesos to this scheme.
Karamihan sa mga kawani ng DPWH na nabanggit sa itaas ay paulit-ulit na binabanggit ang delivery ng pera ay para sa kay Saldico na dapat at least 25%. Ang tao ni Marvin Real na si Bugs Magalong ang pumupunta sa amin para kunin ang pera sa aming opisina o sa wine story. Si Kong Jojo ang naman lagi ring binabanggit sa lahat ng project sa kanya ay papondo ni Speaker at ni Saldico. Mataas ang hinihingi sa project, dagdag pa niya, hindi naman lahat ng pera ay para sa kanya kundi para kay Speaker at kay Saldico.
The unexplained insertions of up to 13.8 billion pesos in the 2025 national budget, which according to Representative Toby Tiangco,
nung una, ang akala natin, kahit ako, ang akala ko lang is ang problema is yung binawasan, tinanggalan ng pondo yung PhilHealth at yung edukasyon, di ba? Hindi na siya highest, no? Supposedly.
Which is provided for by the
Constitution. Okay? Pero nagulat ako, yung palang foreign-assisted flagship projects, yun ang tinanggalan ng pondo at linagay kung saan-saan. So imagine, yung mga commitment natin para doon sa malalaking proyekto na pinondohan ng foreign assistance funds na may commitment tayo, yung pala ang binawasan, tapos sinagay nila doon sa program. Pag hindi tugma yung proponent tsaka yung distributor, red flag na siya sa akin.
Correct.
Okay? So nakita ko, yung Oriental Mindoro, Occidental Mindoro, hindi tugma yung proponent tsaka yung district congressman. So nagtaka na ako. Tapos nakita ko, nung tinotal ko, nakita ko na ang proponent is si Congressman Saldico, ginawa ko naman, tinotal ko naman yung items na ang proponent is si Saldico. Kaya ko nakuha yung 13.8 billion.
Once the news spreads internationally, South Korea, one of the countries considering infrastructure investments in the Philippines, has paused a 28.7 billion peso infrastructure loan, with its president citing concerns over the potential for corruption. Seoul's move has definitely raised questions about investor confidence in the Philippines. With a massive corruption scandal already rocking the flood control projects, it's no surprise that foreign investors are getting wary about putting their money in. This only adds to the growing concerns around Zaldi Co. and his connections to companies like SunWest Inc. The fact that SunWest has landed billions in public contracts tied to these shady projects makes it look even worse. And it's no surprise people are starting to question the whole situation.
Oo na, sila mismo yung... Paano ba yun? Sige nga Ronald, kasi sa karamihan sa atin, baka hindi nila alam paano ba ito nag-work. Bakit nga ba kongresista o senador ang nakikialam sa mga ganitong budget? Legal ba yan?
Una, pinagbawal na kasi ang pork barrel. So, naghahanap yung mga kongresista ng bagong pork barrel. So, ang nangyayari dyan, sa budget hearing ay... Dahil wala silang pork barrel, maglalagay sila ng tinatawag na insertions. Maglalagay sila ng mga programa sa kanilang distrito, no? Halimbawa, katulad ng flood control, na ang hirap investigahan dahil sa ilalim ng lupa, di ba? So, parang dredging yan eh. Dati yung pork barrel, yung dredging. Dredging ng dredging. Paano mo malalaman na nag-dredge nga na maayos? Ilalim ng ilog, ilalim ng... laot. So, yan ang paborito nila. At sabi nga ni Mayor Magalong, at least mga 35 to 45% pupunta yan sa bulsa ng politiko. Tapos mga 15-20% sa contractor. Tapos 10-15% dun sa government official. nakakutsaba. So, matitira, mga 10% na lang. Practically, it's a ghost project. Pero who cares? Paano mo i-audit?
Yep.
Sa ilalim ng tubig. Kaya sa kanila, parang ideal yan. Na proyekto. Kikita sila dyan. Kaya,
Talk about naming names. Current DPWH Secretary Vince Dazen said,
ng construction company outside to build it. They started to own their construction company, right?
Yeah.
Mambabatas na ang kontratista. Ngayon ang kontratista, sinabi niya, teka lang, hindi na kami kinukuha dahil may sarili na sila. Sila na yung tumakbo. So kaya maraming kontratista, party list.
Karen, diretsuhan na.
Oh my goodness.
Yung unang sinabmit naming dokumento sa ICI is yung mga substandard flood control projects sa Oriental Mindoro. Diretsahan na lang tayo. Ang SunWest Corporation, 5 packages ang meron siya noon out of 7. Yung dalawa, Elite tsaka St. Timothy ng Diskaya. Ang may-ari ng SunWest Corporation na nag-divest lang is si Congressman Zaldico. Binigyan na namin ng mga dokumento sa ICI. In fact, magfa-file na dapat kami ng kaso last week. Pero since nabuo na ang ICI, binigyan na namin ng dokumento. Diretsahan na lang tayo, Karen. Si Congressman Zaldico, hindi lang congressman, siya din ay naging Committee on Appropriations.
Kaya nga.
At ang SunWest Corporation ay pag may-ari sa matagal at founder ng si Congressman Zaldico ay founder ng SunWest Corporation.
So if he's saying nag-divest siya,
Despite being at the center of investigations, Zaldico remains unscathed. His claim of divesting from SunWest in 2019 is doubtful, especially with his family still involved. Even President Marcos flagged SunWest for corruption, yet Co faces no real consequences. His absence from recent hearings, citing medical treatment in the US, only fuels further suspicion. Aren't you wondering? Why isn't Zaldico's SunWest construction being targeted in the investigation? It's just Diskaya. SunWest is a bigger fish because its owner is in Congress, and he also has many ghost projects. When billions in flood control funds vanish into ghost projects, what drowns is not just our roads, but the public's trust. The silence of those at the center of power is deafening. While contractors are flagged, the names behind them slip away into shadows, untouched, unbothered, unaccountable. This isn't just about one man's medical leave abroad. It's about a system perfected in disappearing acts. Public money diverted, accountability evaded, justice delayed. The people are asked to swallow vague statements while the coffers are drained dry. Justice must not wait for the convenience of the powerful. The storm is here, the people are watching. While no direct evidence links former House Speaker Martin Romualdez to the misuse of flood control funds, his close ally, Zaldico's involvement raises serious questions. Despite the growing investigation, Romualdez's connections to Co remain undeniable, and he has avoided accountability. This raises concerns about political protection and a system that shields powerful figures, casting a dark shadow over President Marcos's administration and risking his credibility.
Ganito na ang gobyerno na...
But so many regimes, and it just keeps getting worse. So
It did.
So how did we get here, and what can we do now?
Well, I cannot give you a complete answer to how did we get here. The simplistic answer will be, paano tayo nagkaganto? Dahil pinabayaan. And what can we do? What we can do is to find out how this happened, who are the people that are involved, make them answerable for their wrongdoing, and fix the structure so this is not allowable.
Okay.
That's the word that I think that it became allowable. Okay lang.
Yes.
Hindi problema yan. Hindi krimen yan. Sige lang.
It was normalized.
It was normalized.
People have come to accept this. No?
Yes.
But to the level na 30% na lang yung naiiwan sa mga proyekto, astounding yun.
That's the part that...
He can't even mention the names of his cousin and Zaldico in the budget problem and ghost substandard flood control project. The whole Philippines knows they are involved. But President Marcos is afraid to name them. Hold these insulted Romualdez and Zaldico responsible. If those two crocodile guys are not accountable, this investigation is just a foolish man. Make fools of Finnies. The real tragedy here isn't just the stolen money. It's the lost lives and ruined communities. The corruption at the top has crippled the very systems designed to protect the people. The flood control projects were supposed to save lives, but instead, they've become a monument to the greed and failure of those in power. After these revelations, Filipinos are demanding accountability. how much longer will they tolerate a failing system? The streets are filling with voices of anger and frustration, but the real power lies in those voices demanding change. The corrupt officials and contractors who've exploited the system can no longer hide. The people are demanding justice, and it's long overdue. Stay safe and see you in the next video.